seconds and counting.
What's up, guys? It's Clutch City Entertainment back with another video. The Texans lost a really close game to the Tennessee Titans with a score of 28-25. This game, with the win, the Titans clinched the #1 seed in the AFC. And let's go over some stats real quick. Davis Mills was 23 for 33 with 301 yards with 3 touchdowns. In the running game, David Johnson actually had the most yards with 5 carries for 28 yards, averaging 5.6 yards per carry, while Rex Burkhead only had 12 carries for 24 yards. Our best receiver was Danny Amendola with 7 receptions and 113 yards with 2 touchdowns. Really impressive for a guy who just came back. He's 36 years old. Who even knows if he'll play next season? But he played really hard. He gave it his all and was the best receiver of any Texans today. And then Nico Collins had 3 receptions for 67 yards. And on the defensive side, Tamir Thomas, who's been playing a lot of slot corner for us, was in the game a lot and had 9 tackles. Terrence Brooks had 8 tackles, had a couple of big hits on tight end Anthony Firkser. He also had a little bit of a rough day in coverage. Malik Collins had the only sack of the game, while him and Jacob Martin also missed a sack. Crucial one missed by Jacob Martin there. I think this game was a pretty competitive game. I'm happy how everybody played. It's always going to be tough against a really good team like the Titans. I was really impressed. And I just want to see, Roman, what was your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, in the first half, it seemed like it was pretty much going to be a blowout by Tennessee. What I think it was like 21-0 at halftime or something like that. And it wasn't just a very fun game at all. Like at halftime, feelings were down, fans were like, eh. In the second half, Davis Mills and the Texans came out and they actually played with some pretty good fire. They went outside, played the competition. They actually looked like they were trying. Good play calling. Players stepping up. Of course, Danny Amendola. The offensive line looked really nice for the most part, especially Titus Howard at left tackle. You really didn't see him give it too much, and for him to not really play left tackle that much, for him to play that good, that's a pretty good positive. The defense overall, I mean, they're playing the #1 seed in the AFC. Offense has been pretty consistent for the most part this year. And yeah, I think the Texans did a very good job. Like they came into the game, not much to play for. I mean, if they win, okay, very good end to the season. But if they lose, it's like, okay, another L. You really didn't have too much expectations. And for a team to not have too much expectations going to the game and almost pull out a victory towards the end of it, I mean, towards the end, Titans kind of controlled the last couple of minutes or so. But for the Texans to almost pull off a type of comeback, it really showed heart in the team. And yeah, just a very good, fun Texans game to watch. Probably one of the funnest losses for the Texans this year.
Yeah, and I won't get too much into it, but the Texans really played hard in the second half. You can really tell they love their head coach, David Culley, who was under a little bit of heat this morning with rumors that he may be gone. And then, like you said, it was 21-0 at halftime. Everything wasn't looking good. It seems like the Texans' offense was at a standstill while previously their last home game versus the Chargers, they had put up 40 points, looking really good, but this game just looked awful. And the Titans, of course, have a lot better defense than the Chargers, but still it was disappointing to see how they couldn't put anything together in the first half. That's ultimately what killed this team. Now, in the second half, they were able to actually abandon the run game, put together a passing game, which they had to do. I was interested and happy to see that Tim Kelly abandoned the run game, went to the passing game, and it worked. They found things that worked, like throwing the ball to Danny Amendola, throwing the ball over the middle of the field to Nico Collins, who got a little bit lucky on 1 or 2 passes that were just kind of up in the air. But that's exactly why you draft a guy like Nico Collins, and who was 6'4". And then on the disappointing side, I will say, disappointing Rex Burkhead's performance. Disappointed that Brevin Jordan, I don't think he had a single catch all game. And then, of course, Brandon Cooks did get knocked out with an injury. Very unfortunate. But with this loss, the Texans have a lot to think about during the offseason. GM Nick Caserio will be going through and evaluating everything like he said earlier this week. But right now, we do currently have the 3rd overall pick in the draft. Even with the Lions winning and the Jaguars winning, we're still there after the loss. So, Roman, what do you think we're going to do with that 3rd overall pick in the draft?
Yeah, being at #3 in the draft, it's a very good spot to pick. You're not #1, so you don't have that pressure of like, oh, if you don't draft this guy or if you miss out on this guy, like this is going to be talked about or all around the football world. And then at number 2, kind of like the same thing. You get kind of like the leftovers of whoever's in selected one, like the second best player, which sometimes could work out, sometimes could be good, but most of the time it won't. And at number 3, it's like it's not as much pressure. Like you're left with a bunch of options. Number 1 or the top 2 players of the draft are likely going by there, so you don't have as much pressure. And in my opinion, at number 3, I think the Texans should trade down. Will be, I'm not sure. But if Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau are gone at number 3, I don't know. I don't really like Kyle Hamilton at 3. Evan Neal, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at Evan Neal there. Derek Stingley, and I don't really like him there. So personally, I'd rather trade down. And it's kind of like I'm not trying to like tie it too much, but Nick Casterio coming from the Patriots, they like having a bunch of picks. They don't like having one superstar player. They like having a bunch of star slash semi superstars type of players. Like they don't want just one the top player. Of course, they had it in Tom Brady, of course. But other than Tom Brady and maybe Rob Gronkowski, who else did they have that was like top of the top? Everybody was just solid. Everybody was star. Everybody was just pretty much able to hold their own. And I think that's what Nick Casterio is going to try to do this coming draft. Kind of spread the picks out, maybe have a pick here and there. Not try to get too many superstars, but get a bunch of stars to fill out the team. And as a rebuilding team, I think that makes the most sense. Take as many picks as you can, or get as many picks as you can, and spend them around positions of need. Of course, offensive line, secondary, maybe a receiver, of course, a running back later in the draft. But having a bunch of picks, I feel like that's the best way to go. But I also wouldn't be mad, of course, if we went Evan Neal, whether he plays left tackle or right tackle, it wouldn't be the worst thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's two ways I would go about this draft, and it's all really depends on Deshaun Watson. If you're able to trade Deshaun Watson, you're already going to have a luxury of picks. Of course, you're going to have a couple first-round picks, and you should have some mid-round picks, second and third-round picks. So I feel like you don't necessarily have to trade back then. And of course, if you look at a team like the Jaguars, yes, they have the number 1 overall pick, and I think that they're going to want to protect their quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. So if the Jaguars either trade back or they use that number 1 overall pick on Evan Neal, you're going to have the option to be able to get either Kayvon Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson, which I feel like is probably the Texans' biggest need right now. A star defensive end, an elite pass rusher, like we had with J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, and a prime Whitney Merciless was a really good pass rush. And I feel like you saw today, it wasn't really working out. Jonathan Grenard got hurt. Jacob Martin missed a couple plays there, and I feel like that's just what they're missing. The Texans will be able to sign good players in the secondary in the offseason. And like I said earlier, Jaguars will probably be able to get Evan Neal. They might go that option. There's going to be a lot of veterans in free agency, but what there is not in free agency this year is an elite pass rusher. So, of course, I'm hoping and praying the Jaguars take Evan Neal. I would love the Texans to select and stay at number 3 and get Aiden Hutchinson, most likely Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau, of course. But if the Texans are not able to trade Deshaun Watson, I absolutely want them to trade back. Even though it seems unlikely that would even happen, if you cannot trade Deshaun Watson, you need to trade back. You need to go the Patriot way, like Roman said, and stockpile those picks and just build the team up. Have as many picks as possible. Build the team up. If you trade back, you'll probably have 8 or 9 picks in the draft. If you trade back to like 16, 17, you'll get a first, third, and a fifth probably. And that'd be really solid. And I think that, Texans can really go any position there. And if you trade back, you just take the best talent available. But otherwise, I feel like it really depends on what happens in the offseason. And any other thoughts, Roman?
No, I pretty much agree with you. Of course, get that what seems to be superstar edge talent. If one of them are to fall to 3, but yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said.
Yeah, and I'm just one other thing. This coming in right after the game, Davis Mills' last 6 starts had 1,568 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, which is very, very good. Meaning that over projected 17 games, he would have had 4,442 yards, 31 touchdowns, and only 8 interceptions. I want to give credit to Texans Twitter user Texans7. And I think that that's just really impressive stats by Davis Mills. Shows that he's improved. I'm just really excited for the future. That's pretty much going to be all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.